Let's talk about chromatin organization. So we have to understand how chromosome is organized in order to understand the basic processes in molecular biology. Now people think that they have very good idea about this concept, but generally they have misconception associated with this topic. So the first question that one should ask, how does chromosome look like? Chromosome दिखता कैसा है? अगर मैं आपको पूछूं, how do you look like? And the correct answer is it depends on your age. You look different in your teenage versus your adult age, and you would look different in your old age. Similarly, chromosomes also look different in different time point. The characteristic picture that is painted in our head is this characteristic metaphasic chromosome, the X-shaped metaphase chromosome, which is provided in every book. It is not okay to say it is a chromosome, but it is more appropriate to say that it's a metaphasic chromosome. So if we walk down the cell cycle, chromosome would look very different. For example, in interphase, it would be mostly beads on string. In prophase, there would be higher order structures, whereas in metaphase, the chromosome would be very condensed. And molecular biology stops at metaphase. Okay, none of the central dogma processes takes place in this condensed chromosome. So molecular biology is active in the interphase kind of time, where genes can be turned on, turned off, and other things can happen. So it is important to understand the condensation of the chromatin and how it is relevant for biological aspect. Okay, so let's talk about the levels of chromosome organization. So the basic level or the unit of chromosome organization is the nucleosome, which is a combination of DNA which is wrapped around histones, which are basic proteins. So this is the building block for the chromosomes or chromatin. So histones are basic proteins. They are rich in lysine and arginine, and they are found in eukaryotic cell nuclei, where they are associated with this chromatin formation. Now there are different types of histones. Generally, the generic ones are known as canonical histones. For example, H3, H4, H2A, 2B, all of these are actually canonical histones. So first H3 and H4 forms a dimer, H2A, 2B also forms dimer, and eventually they forms this sort of like tetramer, and ultimately when H3, H4 tetramer and H2A, 2B tetramer combines, it ultimately forms a core histone octamer. This core histone octamer is wrapped around by DNA, and it's basically wrapped by 200 base pair length of DNA, which is 1.67 left-handed superhelical turns. So basically this length is different in context of how the DNA is digested, but this is a ballpark estimate, 200 base pairs. Now the thing is, the DNA has phosphate backbone, so phosphate group has negative charge, histone has lysine, arginine, which are positively charged amino acid, basic amino acid which has positive charge. So there would be electrostatic interaction which holds the DNA and the protein together. So there are ionic interaction which stabilize the nucleosome. This is important to note. Now the first level of organization is beads on string. So beads on string structures are found in the nucleus at the stage of interphase. They are 10 nanometer fibers, and this structure is thought to be, and also there are proofs that these structures are transcriptionally active. Then further packaging of these structure happens. Things start to package and condense, and it forms the 30 nanometer fiber. The packaging of the DNA into the nucleosome causes a 10 nanometer fiber to fold and condense, forming a 30 nanometer fiber. So this is the 30 nanometer fiber. There are different sort of models are there which explains how these folding happens, like solenoid model, zigzag model. So for example, solenoid model is characterized by interaction between the consecutive nucleosomes. That means nucleosome number n and n plus 1 would interact to form this sort of condensed structure. Whereas zigzag model says that the interaction happens between alternate nucleosome. Nucleosome number 1, the next one there is no interaction. After that, n plus 2 number nucleosome, there would be interaction. But these are just two models to just remember. we don't have to go into the details for these models. Later on, there would be 30 nanometer fiber. This is another level of complexity. So there are different levels of complexity. DNA is around 2 nanometers in thickness. Then it wraps around the histone 11 nanometer or 10 nanometer structure, then 30 nanometer structure, 300 and 700 nanometer structures, chromatin scaffold, all ultimately giving rise to a very compact structure which is known as metaphase chromosome. Remember, during metaphase, none of the central dogma processes are happening. At this point, everything is very well packed, ready to be segregated into 2 daughter cells. Imagine you are going somewhere. So would you be opening your briefcase and doing important job from the paper, or will you be opening your clothes in that context? At the point when you are going somewhere, you would be packing your stuff in a condensed format and taking it. You would unpack once you reach the destination. So for the cells, the destination would be the daughter cells, obviously. So then the chromosome can decondense again and the molecular biology processes can start. Now the question is, what factors can determine chromatin condensation? मतलब chromatin जो condense हो रहा है, कौन सा factors इसके लिए responsible है? There are tons and tons of factors. हम लोग उसी factors के ऊपर focus करेंगे जो कि exam point of view से ज़्यादा important है. So first of all, the 30 nanometer structure is so condensed because there are specific proteins known as structural maintenance of chromosome proteins or SMC proteins such as cohesin and condensin, which ensures this structure is made in this way. So this folding is not totally haphazard. It is highly regulated. This is important. So in the late metaphase, this has important role because in the late metaphase, anaphase promoting complex actually blocks a particular component known as securin. So securin cannot activate separase, and that is why. So basically separase's job, as the name suggests, is to break down these complexes. So securin inhibits the separase actually, and APC inhibits securin. That is how in the late metaphase all these structural maintenance of chromosome rings are broken down, and this is the optimal time for separation of the chromosome. In the anaphase, chromosome separation happens if the rings are broken properly. Now all these sort of information, nitty-gritty details about chromatin came from electron microscopy studies. 1970s में molecular biology नाम का कोई subject नहीं था. वहाँ पे सिर्फ biochemist राज करते थे और सेल बायोलॉजिस्ट तब ग्रो कर रहे हैं, वो माइक्रोस्कोपी देख के सेल का अल्ट्रा स्ट्रक्चर निकालते थे तब. अभी माइक्रोस्कोपी में ये जो बीड्स ऑन स्ट्रिंग, ये जो मेटाफेज क्रोमोसोम जो दिख रहा है आपको, वो डिस्टिंक्ट सेल डिविजन स्टेज में ऐसे कैप्चर्ड हुआ था. दैट इज व्हाई सेल बायोलॉजीज फाउंडेशन वाज एक्चुअली बेस्ड ऑन द माइक्रोस्कोपी रिलेटेड स्टडीज. नाउ सेल का न्यूक्लियस में माइक्रोस्कोपिस्ट को और भी एक दिलचस्प चीज दिखाई दिया. दैट इंटरेस्टिंग थिंग वाज condensation in some places. Some of the places are highly electron dense. You can see those black regions. Let me show you. So here are some regions which are highly electron dense, and there are some regions which are having less electrons. So these are electron poor regions. So they just, based on this kind of broad information, broad description, they named is Euchromatin and heterochromatin. Basically something looks light and something looks dark, something like that. But what is actually euchromatin and heterochromatin? So basically the entire 10 nanometer structure is not transcriptionally active. Portions of that 10 nanometer structure would be active, and there are portions which are not active. So basically some structure which is highly condensed and not transcriptionally active is known as heterochromatin. But the question is, what really determines which region would be heterochromatin, which region would be transcriptionally active or euchromatin? So this is governed by several aspects like histone modification, different variants of histone, nucleosome remodelers, DNA methylation, etc. For example, several histone modifications can open up or close down chromatin. It has been seen that when there is an open conformation of the chromatin or euchromatin, acetylation is the key modification that is found. Acetylation is not really found in the heterochromatinized regions. So the question is how euchromatin differs from the heterochromatin. Obviously it is densely packed. and euchromatin is loosely packed. Euchromatin is transcriptionally active, heterochromatin is transcriptionally silent. Now there are many other aspects by which they can differ. So there are different histone modifications that exist in euchromatin versus heterochromatin. Different histone variants and different DNA level of DNA methylation exist. Now let me tell you that what are the modifications that are different between euchromatin and heterochromatin. There could be different modifications which are different. For example, acetylation. If we talk about acetylation in euchromatin, these are some of the examples of acetylation which are highly enriched in euchromatin. Methylation, if we talk about methylation, some of the methylation like H3K4 dimethylation, H3K36 trimethylations are associated with euchromatin. And phosphorylation, H3S10P phosphorylation is associated with histone modification, associated with euchromatin formation. Now there are many other modifications such as plethora of histone methylations are associated with heterochromatin. तो आपके दिमाग में अभी बात आ रहा है कि भाई कभी मिथाइलेशन यूक्रोमेटिन से एसोसिएटेड होता है, कभी मिथाइलेशन हेटेरोक्रोमेटिन से एसोसिएट होता है, तो ये एक्टिवेट करता है कि डीएक्टिवेट करता है. बात को ऐसे सोचना ही नहीं चाहिए. सो बेसिकली द एंटायर modifications are read as a code, read as a barcode. There are specific proteins known as bromodomain and chromodomain containing proteins which can read these histone code or these barcodes of histone and ultimately make sense of that barcode, which give rise to either euchromatin or heterochromatin. And there are now different histone variants. For example, some of the histone variants are highly enriched in euchromatin, such as H2AZ, H3.3. Whereas there are specific histone variants such as H3.1, 3.2, SENP-A, macro H2A, which are associated with heterochromatin. For example, SENP-A is highly associated with the centromeric regions. Now there are also H1 histone, which is highly associated with euchromatin versus heterochromatin. It turns out there is a high degree of association of H1 histone with the heterochromatin region. Now there are also other modifications like methylation, right? So methylation can alter the state how DNA would be interacting with the histone. So now we are talking about not histone methylation but DNA methylation. So there are specific enzymes known as DNA methyl transferase which can perform these methylation reaction. As the name suggests, DNA methyl transferase, any enzyme that transfers methyl group to the DNA. It turns out that heterochromatin are hypermethylated compared to the euchromatin. Euchromatins are generally hypomethylated. Now basically imagine that there is a promoter region. In order for that promoter region to be accessed, there should be enough amount of space by which these protein can actually access the promoter. So transcriptional machinery has to also access the promoter and eventually run it, right? So that is why chromatin accessibility is very important for any central dogma processes like replication or transcription. So let's talk about how chromatin accessibility is regulated. There are specific proteins, brief में ज़्यादा नहीं बोल रहा हूँ, brief में बोल रहा हूँ. There are many proteins known as nucleosome remodeling complex. नाम सुन के समझ में आ रहा है, nucleosome remodeling complex है, right? Nucleosome को remodel कर देता है. They can do many jobs. Nucleosome remodeler can sit onto the chromatin. They can alter the chromatin. They can literally kick out histones known as histone eviction process. They can alter one particular histone with a non-canonical version of the histone known as histone replacement. They can also slide the existing nucleosome without throwing it out and make one particular region accessible or inaccessible. That is known as nucleosome sliding. This is how basically nucleosome remodeling complex can alter the architecture of the chromatin. And this is super important. There are specific techniques which are not important for exam point of view, but let me still give you a quick idea known as ataxic. So this ataxic these ataxic peaks can tell us which regions are more accessible versus which region are less accessible. This is a cutting edge technique. This is not unfortunately not given in any kind of textbook or CSIR syllabus. Forget about it. It's not important for any kind of exam. Still get an idea. So basically There are also now let's talk about the 3D chromatin organization context. So basically the chromatin is basically organized in a 3D space, right? You have to imagine the nucleus to be a 3D ball. Now imagine this chromosome to be threads, and there are 46 of these threads which are associated with each other. So each of these threads are now color coded. It is easy for you to understand. Still it is 2D, but imagine this to be a 3D space. So obviously there are many domains which are closely related. So these are known as topologically associated domain. In this convoluted structure, there could be two regions which are close to each other. There could be also another region which are far from each other. There could be intra-chromosomal interaction, like you can see point A and point B. These are part of the same chromosome. Due to this 3D folding, they are coming close to each other and interacting with one another. There could be another chromosome marked here in blue. You can see there could be inter-chromosome interaction. Now the point X and Y are present in two different chromosomes, but due to this 3D folding, they are coming close to each other and interacting with each other. So this kind of intra and inter-chromosomal regulations are really important to understand the molecular biology concept. Now sometimes the linear conformation is not enough to explain many things. For example, an enhancer is situated several kilobase pair upstream to a promoter. How do they interact with each other? And looping is basically the mechanism. So due to a looping mechanism, the enhancer and the promoter comes in close proximity and specific transcription factors can be recruited. This is crucial for transcription. There are specific techniques which is described in the unit 13 or methods in biology section, which talks about chromatin capture or chromatin conformation capture technique. This is a technique which talks about in a 3D space which regions of the chromosome has interacted with each other. So generally the chromatins are chopped off, sonicated, and then cross-linked. So after that, with a sequencer machine, one can look for the sequences which are closely related with each other, because if these sequences are from different chromosome, that tells us that even if they are from different chromosome, in a 3D space they were close apart. So this is a difficult concept to understand, but it's still important. So nowadays there are high C maps. So these high C map can basically understand and determine chromosome territories. It can talk about chromosome small compartments, and even within the compartment it can detect the interaction between these topologically associated domains. So we can look at the chromatin biology at a different resolution. Now all of these are not really important for CSIR, but let me evoke some interest in you guys and help you to understand how complex is chromatin biology and what you need to think about it. Now it's also important to understand that the 3D chromatin is very dynamic. Let's imagine there are two time points. In T0, A and B, these points are close together. In time T1, these points might be separated. In time T0, C and D are far apart, but in time T1, they could come close together. So all these interactions are highly dynamic, and it's not only true for intrachromosomal dynamics, but interchromosomal dynamics could be highly vibrant in terms of interacting with each other. For example, X and Y, these are part of two different chromosomes. They are now interacting at time T0, but at time T1, look at them, they are separated out. So this gives us an essence of transcription or molecular biology processes that are happening in the nucleus. Imagine how difficult it is to pack so much of genetic material inside the nucleus, and doing all of these job happens in that level of entanglement. It's ultra difficult. So in summary, in this lecture, we looked at different levels of chromosome organization, factors that affects chromosome organization. We looked at the essence of euchromatin and heterochromatin. At the last of the lecture, we also looked at the concept of 3D chromatin and how it can regulate transcription. So in this entire lecture series, you would be seeing that how I emphasize on the 3D chromatin architecture in context of molecular biology, which is kind of ignored in many lectures, in many institutions, and even in colleges. So which really breaks my heart. But I try to focus on the 3D chromatin and the importance of 3D chromatin in gene expression regulation. So see you in next video. Don't forget to watch the entire playlist. Don't forget to watch the entire lectures and practice questions. I see you in next video.